In a couple, there are sometimes uncontrolled behaviors or gestures, but there are also those who should never be missed. Today, our culture continues to trivialize and romanticize certain toxic behaviors in couples, so much so that it is not easy to detect the warning signs or red flags in our own romantic relationship. The codependency, the jealousy, the refusal of arguments, the distant and mysterious personality. Many of us already put up with them. It's time to talk about the things to never tolerate in a relationship for his well-being. Here they are. 1. Your partner has violent behavior. This is perhaps the most obvious of all behaviors, never to be tolerated in a romantic relationship. But not always being visible, violence is not so easy to bestow on the first blow. In the prevention posters, domestic violence is explained by blows and cowards. In reality, there are several types of violence, often linked together. They can scale up quickly without you realizing it. Domestic violence takes many forms. There is sexual violence and physical violence, which we see when they are not hidden. Then there is also verbal and psychological violence, which ranges from blackmail to threats, to real emotional control, and administrative and economical violence, which translates into control over the flow of money. These behaviors that should alert you. Your couple is floundering, you no longer recognize yourself in it, especially since Prince Charming, from the beginning, gave way to a cold character filled with pride, personifying selfishness. The time is no longer to doubt, but to act quickly, and therefore to break. In a toxic or abusive relationship, it is sometimes difficult to know what is normal and what is not. The other member of the couple is doing everything to pose as a victim in good faith. This is one of the characteristics of the narcissistic pervert, who regularly accuses the other of being the author of what he himself does. There are therefore behaviors to identify the red flags, which should alert us in order to make us aware when a relationship is twisted. If you think your relationship involves any of these abuses, seek outside help as soon as possible. 2. Your relationship only goes one way. When a single person is in charge of all the couple's decision-making, it's a bad sign. How and why to spend the money, where to go on vacation, who to go out with. If one of the partners never contributes anything, there is a power imbalance between the two. Many relationships fail because one partner decides, consciously or not, to take charge of the other. Advice, help, listening, permanent gifts, it only goes one way. By always doing everything for the other, we make him dependent. We discourage him from becoming autonomous or from taking on responsibilities. This is something that should never be tolerated in a relationship because a couple must be a space of trust and sharing where everyone expresses themselves and acts freely. Sometimes it can feel like everything is rosy in our relationship, and then often we want it to work so badly that we have the annoying habit of letting things go that are not tolerable. And despite the warnings from those around us, we are often tempted to turn a blind eye to these gestures, habits, or events that basically bother us. By wanting our couple to work too much, we sometimes forget each other. 3. Your partner wants to change you. The beginnings of a relationship are often fiery, happy, and serene. That's what I wish you anyway. Once the magic and the chemistry of the beginning have passed, the criticisms begin, and what made us melt at the start becomes our worst annoyances. In a worthwhile relationship, both partners love each other for who they are. That is to say, the other loves you in the entirety with your faults and your qualities. If your partner is looking to change things about you, such as your appearance, your lifestyle, your relationships, or your job, they don't deserve more attention from you. Sometimes, some people are desperate to want to save their other half. They want to cure the other of their addictions, their phobias of commitment, convinced that they are there to help them. This is also dangerous behavior. The savior sees in the other only an inventory of his faults and only sees himself through the other. Unconsciously, the saviors act in the need for recognition and to boost their self-esteem. Moreover, they find themselves taking on a responsibility beyond their means. No one wants to burn out in love. We will never tolerate that again. The solution? Communicate. If certain things annoy you, hurt you, sadden you about the partner, do not hesitate to express them. The trick is to not demand anything. Explain what this causes as a feeling in you. What are the needs behind it? find solutions together so that both parties are satisfied. One, because the other has heard his request. The other, because he will be happy to invest himself in the relationship freely, and not because the other has a requirement. If no alternative is possible, if the other refuses or feels unable to adapt, perhaps you should think about changing partners. 4. Your partner is too jealous. Jealousy can be tolerated if it is controlled and minimal. When your partner constantly checks on you or gets upset when they see you chatting with someone else, that's not healthy. And if they start digging into your phone or your computer, it becomes dangerous. It is then necessary to lay new foundations in the relationship. If communication isn't working, run away. This is something you should never tolerate in a relationship for her well-being. In our culture, jealousy has been romanticized so much that it is thought to be necessary, even mandatory in a relationship. If she does not show jealousy, our other half would not like us. In reality, this feeling demonstrates both a lack of self-confidence and a lack of respect for others. Unhealthy jealousy is characterized by a need for control and domination over the other. This is not good for either partner. 5. Your partner hides you from his relatives. After ghosting, breadcrumbing, or love bombing, it's stashing's turn to appear. This new amorous drift consists in hiding the existence of one's partner from those close to them. We do not talk about him on social networks, nor with his family or friends. Result, a very difficult situation to live with and an inevitable loss of self-confidence. You are going to celebrate your 1 year of relationship and you have never met some of his friends, family, or colleagues. You can ask yourself questions after a certain time. Your partner is surely hiding something from you. If this relationship is going the right way, they must feel the need to show some pride in your relationship with their loved ones. Similarly, if your partner does not want to meet your loved ones, it is not normal. Of course, no one is forced to completely switch friend groups or share everything, but to love the other is also to want to know the people who make up his life. Stashing is a danger to self-esteem. Stashing is a humiliating practice. The problem with stashing is that you don't realize the situation right away. We prefer to find excuses for him. He is very shy. It is better to take his time. Everything will be fine. Yet deep down inside, you feel that something is wrong. You start to question yourself. You lose confidence in yourself. You no longer feel up to it, and you expect perpetual recognition. Your partner, for his part, thinks only of him and worries very little about your moods. How to get out of this painful situation? Communicate. He may simply explain to you that he really wants to take his time. To be sure of his sincerity, only gesture counts. If, after a few days, his attitude changes and he really includes you in his life, give him a chance. On the contrary, if he tells you that you are exaggerating, and he finds excuses, runs away, the man is not ready to commit. You've already wasted enough time on someone who doesn't deserve you. 6. Your partner is not interested in you. Has your partner ever asked you about your past, your childhood? Does he know your current passions? Has something bad happened to you and they don't hear from you? They show no interest in you and have no problem with it? We must not excuse him by putting it on the back of his personality. He is a person who is simply not interested. Don't waste time on this relationship. Once again, the love of your partner is largely translated by the desire to know you, to discover you with everything that makes up your life. When a guy is starting to lose interest, he becomes very distant and never makes plans with you. He stops being interested in romantic evenings and plans about the future. 7. Your partner avoids arguments. Each time a conflict begins, they are too tired to continue the conversation. It's never a good time to talk. In reality, he's right. There aren't really good times for bad news. That doesn't mean you have to bury your head in the sand. This only brings doubts and misunderstandings. And nothing can go on like this. Communication is the basis of a healthy relationship. Avoiding conflict leads to bitterness and resentment in the long run. This leads to significant problems in the relationship because you can't fix something you don't know exists. Verbalizing irritants also demonstrates the trust you have in your partner and the relationship. Avoiding an argument can be a well-intentioned but rarely beneficial behavior. On the other hand, research in this area suggests that assertiveness strongly predicts effective problem-solving and relationship satisfaction. Marriage and family therapist Jim Siebold told Reader's Digest, "Arguments are part of married life. It's normal and healthy to argue with your partner. But it is also important to know how to avoid conflicts in order to prevent them from repeating themselves too often.